What is a respectable number of naps one can take during quarantine? Well, it was looking like we were going to be stuck with only sci-fi classics while we're all stuck at home, but then I remembered that I have a small stash of dumpster finds I haven't reviewed yet, so looks like we can have a little bit of variety. Today's dumpster find is 2008's Fireproof. Fireproof is a Christian drama produced by the Kendrick Brothers and stars our favorite Banana Man sidekick, Kirk Cameron. The two wedding rings on the cover design already tells you what kind of a story this is going to be, but let's give it a go anyway. It's 25 years earlier, and we hear a little girl telling her mother that she wants to marry Daddy. Mom tells her daughter that she is married to Daddy, so the daughter's gonna have to find her own man, and we fast forward to present day. Why do I feel like that scene wasn't very important? Kirk, aka Caleb, is not happy with this man trying to be a hero in a fire. He's right. Firemen everywhere, do what Caleb says and run away from fires. Wait.
You never leave your partner, especially in a fire.
Oh, I see what this movie's gonna be about. Can we stop now?
Hey, has Robin left yet?
No, she's here. Robin, Cat's here.
She couldn't bother to turn her head and look for herself? Some unfortunately typical Clunky Exposition dialogue tells us that this woman's mother had a stroke a year ago and needs a wheelchair and a hospital bed, though they couldn't exposition enough to tell us exactly what she does at the hospital. This next encounter is awkward to watch. I don't know if it's because it's overtly flirty or it's just badly written. Let's say both. I'm feeling generous. It turns out generic hospital employee is Caleb's wife and their marriage sucks.
Did I offend you by walking in the door this morning?
Well, now that you mention it, much more Clunky Exposition tells us that Cranky here has to work a full-time job because Caleb is setting aside large amounts of his salary for a boat, despite the fact that the house needs updates.
Like what?
The back door needs to be painted, the yard needs better landscaping, and I keep telling you I want to put more shelves in the closet.
Those are called preferences, Catherine. Those are not needs.
Unlike the apparently needed boat.
God commanded me to build an ark!
Shut up, Evan. It's a Christian film, so naturally that means the men do something athletic while talking about relationships.
I get respect everywhere I go, except in my own house.
I've been there.
And I wouldn't respect you in that house either.
A woman's like a rose. If you treat her right, she'll bloom. If you don't, she will.
At the risk of being nitpicky, technically everything is like that, not just women. Sorry, is it not very manly to compare men to flowers? Let's say this. Men need to be treated well to thrive. Like a car. Like a truck. Like a monster truck. You gotta take care of those big tires so they can roll over small cars easier. Women are like flowers. Men are like trucks. Is that better?
If looking at that trash is how you get fulfilled, that's fine, but I will not compete with it.
Well, I sure don't get it from you.
Obviously, their use of the word trash here is code for
Bodie, the wild mambo, the hunka chunka.
I want out. I just want out.
That's fine with me!
Oh, that was easy. So the end? No, divorce equals adultery according to the Bible, and that is what is going to stretch this film from 12 minutes to 2 hours. Caleb and the firefighters get called out to the scene of a car accident with one car stuck on some railroad tracks. And there's a train coming. 4 of the men try to lift the car to move it. Unsurprisingly, they need more people. And more people. And more people. Of course, they make it off the tracks just in time, but this guy is now butthurt about it.
Aren't you afraid of dying?
No, because I know where I'm going. I just don't want to get there because I got hit by a train.
But wouldn't that make for a cool death story once you got to heaven? I mean, let's face it, most of the others are downers. This scene with Caleb's parents makes it look like Caleb is a bit of a misogynist because he wasn't charming enough, as he complains to his dad about his marriage.
I used to be where you are right now.
Then I took 2 steps to my left and now I'm here.
I'm going to send you something in the mail.
What is it?
It's what saved our marriage.
Dad, I can get that stuff online now. Dad makes Caleb promise to give the marriage 40 more days and to do exactly what the book he's mailing him tells him to do.
Marriages aren't fireproof. Sometimes you get burned.
Fireproof doesn't mean that a fire will never come, but that when it comes, you'll be able to withstand it.
Michael compares marriage to salt and pepper, and decides to take this opportunity to illustrate his point by gluing the shakers together. Now, those of us who use salt but rarely pepper are just kinda irritated with him. The book Caleb gets in the mail from his dad is called The Love Dare. It appears to be handwritten by his dad with 40 different challenges for Caleb to try each day. The first one is to resist saying anything negative to his wife, which of course he handles with dignity. The next day, he is also supposed to do a random act of kindness. Maybe Dad's secretly a Wiccan. Day 3 is buy something for his wife, so he orders her cheap-ass flowers and chocolates. She seems confused. Understandable. Meanwhile, male egos at the fire station lead to a hot sauce drinking contest. Of course, the sauces are generically named Wrath of God. Apparently, the ultimate show of manliness is drinking hot sauce. Duly noted. It turns out Caleb's was just tomato juice, so he cheated. Now he tells me. Cranky's coworkers tell her that Caleb is being nice all of a sudden because he's trying to get a bigger share of their joint property in the divorce. Later, she tells him that his kind gestures couldn't possibly be genuine because he looks at trash on the internet. Apparently, if you beat the meat, you couldn't possibly be a genuinely nice person. Although if you take that phrase literally, it does sound not nice.
I feel nothing.
Well, I mean, if you beat the meat senseless.
We've got to start praying for him more.
Does the amount of prayers correlate with the results? Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the Bible say ask and it shall be given unto you and not nag me and I'll probably do it? I mean, I guess you should want a certain amount of, actively trying for it, but still. Cranky is getting closer to Flirty Doc, and this lady does not like it. Day 18 says to cook his wife a nice dinner and ask her a list of questions. Hopefully she doesn't think the food's poisoned. They try to add comic relief with this egotistical guy at the fire station, but it's clearly just to drag the movie out longer. Cranky walks into the house and sees Caleb standing next to the laid out dinner table.
What are you doing?
Maybe I'd like to have dinner with my wife.
No. You say, I would like to have dinner with you. It makes it more about her, not just her role.
I do not love you.
You know, an actual conversation might be helpful, but that would not be dramatically interesting at this point, so he calls Dad instead.
Dad, if you're gonna tell me I need Jesus, please don't.
An actual wake-up call and personality transplant are what you need.
His standards are so high, he considers hatred to be murder and lust to be adultery.
God being an elitist and overreacting to things doesn't change an arrogant bastard. Now, if you yourself put your own behavior up to those standards, that might help. Doesn't make God real, but it might help.
How am I supposed to show love to somebody over and over and over who constantly rejects me?
That's a good question.
Real subtle. It turns out Michael here is actually married to his second wife, and he divorced his first wife. Gasp, adulterer.
But when I gave my life to God, I tried to find her, but she had already remarried.
Oh, now it's not his fault anymore, so we can like him again. I have to admit, I'm still not exactly sure what Cranky's job actually is. The team is called to a house fire, and Caleb finds himself alone in a room with a girl he is trying to rescue. He ends up having to bust a hole through the floor, dragging the girl through the crawl space, under the house, and out a ventilation shaft. Now there's an awkward moment where Cranky has to admit in front of the flirty doctor that Caleb is her husband. Yeah. Because of an injured arm, Caleb is off of work for 2 weeks. Day 23 tells him to destroy any addictions, and specifically names the P word as an example. A little on the nose, but now it means Caleb must smash his computer to bits a la Office Space, because there is no other reason to have a computer besides looking at trash. Well, such activities would probably hurt his injured arm anyway. Despite leaving flowers for Cranky in place of the computer, Caleb wakes up the next morning to find divorce papers anyway. Can we finally have a real discussion now? No? Okay. Cranky finds out at the hospital that a hospital bed and wheelchair have been paid for and are being delivered to her mother. She assumes Flirty Doc did it after the discussion they had about her parents before, but my guess is Caleb used his boat money to do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, maybe it was Flirty Doc? Never mind, that could have made this movie only an hour and a half, but no! Caleb finds a card Flirty Doc wrote to Cranky and confronts him. Plot twist, not only does someone overhear this and start a gossip chain, but Flirty Doc is also apparently married. It's not a Christian film without a montage and an uplifting Christian song. This one includes another fire, but apparently it wasn't as epic as that first one, so we just skim over it. It took Cranky having to stay home sick and Caleb bringing her food for them to finally start talking, and he reveals another plot twist.
So what day are you on?
43.
There's only 40.
Who says I have to stop?
Caleb ultimately acknowledges that it may take her time to trust him again, but he asks her to forgive him for being a dick and that he can't live without her. She says she needs time to think. It turns out Flirty Doc only gave $300 towards Cranky's parents and that it was indeed Caleb's boat money that bought the bed and wheelchair. Well, how stupid is Flirty Doc? With America's healthcare being the joke that it is, $300 would have gotten her a Tylenol and a blanket. So exactly what did he hope to accomplish with that donation?
The hunka-chunka?
Upon hearing this, Cranky goes to see Caleb at the fire station.
If I haven't told you that you are a good man, you are.
Well, if you two are going to stand that far apart, you'll need to speak up. Fun fact, the reason this shot is backlit is because they replaced the actress playing Cranky with Kirk Cameron's real-life wife. Yes, Kirk is a professional actor and refuses to kiss anyone even on screen that isn't his wife. To each his own, but that makes things really inconvenient for casting purposes. Oh, we're not done.
Caleb, I want to be a godly man.
But it's hard when you're a serial killer. It turns out Dad rewrote the book in his own handwriting, but Mom was the one who did the book things when their marriage was failing. Even Dad knows Caleb's a misogynist. Apparently, Caleb thought his mom was the one that almost ended his parents' marriage back in the day and had been mad at her for that this entire time, so he asks her forgiveness. The end? No, we're still not done. We had to add this wedding ceremony in so we could get Alex Kendrick, the director, into the movie. You couldn't just walk by in the background earlier. This scene is not necessary. Finally, the end. Well, I was right. That scene with the little girl wanting to marry her daddy in the beginning was completely unnecessary, as were many of the scenes in this movie. So is that why this film is in the dumpster? Christian films are usually not Oscar contenders or even widely known. That alone is enough to chuck a movie into the dumpster. However, similar to the recently reviewed Past the Light, if you look beyond the bad acting and writing and preaching, you actually find a good message. Unlike Past the Light, however, Fireproof doesn't even seem to realize what its true message is. It takes a little more dissecting for this one to find the actual useful information, so go on this short journey with me, will you? It seems clear from the beginning that the problem with this marriage is communication and stubbornness. Caleb and Cranky seem to be purposely doing and saying things to antagonize each other. People like this should not only not be married to each other, they shouldn't be married to anyone until they emotionally educate themselves beyond the age of 12. I don't know if that's supposed to be the problem with this marriage or if the writer just can't write conflict properly, but let's cut them some slack and say it was intentional. There are some people that simply should not be married to each other, and staying together because they arbitrarily think it's what they're supposed to do is not helping anyone. They even give the example of this in their firefighter mantra of
Never leave your partner.
no, it is not advisable to leave your partner behind under most circumstances, which is why you don't unless necessary. In order to rescue a child from inside the burning house, Caleb had to leave his partner. The fact that they never address, by the way. It seems at first like a horrible idea because he ends up getting himself into a really tight spot, but in the end it was the right decision because he was able to save a life. Sometimes you need to leave your partner if it will help the children, or if it's the necessary thing to do for the welfare of everyone. For those marriages that can and should be preserved, however, both parties need to make some changes within themselves. They need to realize that love and relationships are not a hierarchy or what you can get out of it. They're a partnership and about what you can give the other person. This kind of thing can be a big transformation for some people, so they might need more drastic circumstances to lead them into it. Sometimes this comes in the form of finding religion. They are in a place where the idea of a higher power makes sense to them, so they believe it and convert. And when that religion has messages along the lines of do unto others, that can bring about the change needed. The religious experience is not the necessary change, though, the new mindset is. Hence why many Christians out there are still just a bunch of dicks. Speaking of religion, it's also funny how this film unwittingly demonstrates why atheists don't convert. This movie is comparing someone rejecting a spouse's love to someone rejecting God. So God and love are the same thing, got it? If you look at it from the one side, the Christian side, it seems insightful and completely valid. But here's the other side of that. Cranky Pants is skeptical of Caleb's love because he has not sufficiently proven that it's real. Other events from their past lead her to believe that his signs of love are actually ulterior motives and attempts to manipulate her. So of course she's gonna reject it and possibly even shove it away. However, if he would have just simply communicated with her that, without any room for doubt, I love you and I want this marriage to last, that would have cleared up so much confusion and everyone would be on the same page. Random nice things are not proof that love is real. How can you accept something that has not definitely proven itself to be real and not just some weird con job to get some money they don't actually deserve? It's the whole can't see the forest for the trees. The drive to have a religious message in this film seems to have blinded the filmmakers to the message their own film is conveying. That's why this film is in the dumpster. Do I recommend you watch this film? Well, you heard all the good stuff that's in it, so now you don't have to. Take all of that and be a better person.
You disrespectful, ungrateful, selfish woman!
You like this song? Oh, yeah.
This is so pointless. I don't have time for this.